evening here in autumn. Yes, it's getting cold here in the UK. I don't know where you are in the world, but here we're starting to feel autumn is about to join us. Today is the first year anniversary of the October the 7th attacks in Israel, in which over 1,200 Israelis were killed by Hamas and other Palestinian resistant groups. And subsequently, since October the 7th, over 41,000 Palestinians have been killed. Hundreds of thousands have been injured or displaced from their homes. And yet, 1 year on, the violence, the killing and the maiming continues in Gaza. Over hundreds have also been killed in the West Bank, including illegal settlers who are attacking innocent Palestinians to try to expel them from their homes and their country. And in recent weeks, we've seen Israel strike Lebanon, in which their leader of Hezbollah, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, has been assassinated, along with a number of senior Hezbollah leaders. Israel has argued that they are going after the terrorists who are terrorizing their citizens and their territory. In the last few weeks, over 2,000 Lebanese have been killed in Lebanon. And as we come on air tonight, that violence is ongoing. October the 7th will be remembered by people around the world. For members of the Jewish community, it's a sad moment and a sad day because of the killing and the suffering that the people in Israel suffered. And for the Palestinians, they will argue and have argued that their occupation, their continued oppression began in 1948 and has continued ever since. And whilst there is an Israeli state, there is not a Palestinian state. Palestinians should be able to live in freedom, to determine their own future, to understand that the challenges that the international community faces is that we see justice and fairness for those suffering around the world. For us as Muslims, it is imperative that we continue to call out for our support for Palestine. The Palestinian cause is a just cause. It's a cause worthy of us to raise our voices. And more importantly, it is a humanitarian crisis that is going on in Gaza, in the West Bank, and now in Lebanon. There is smoke rising from deserted streets in Beirut. Tens of thousands of Lebanese, Syrian refugees have returned to Syria because of the constant buzz of Israeli drones and missile attacks. In the last few moments, the Israeli military have confirmed new strikes in Beirut. It says fighter jets have launched missiles at the Hezbollah intelligence headquarters, a target which the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, has said has hit before it launches in recent days. There were 2 evacuation orders that were issued for southern Beirut earlier this evening. Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he will continue to fight in an address to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the October the 7th. He was speaking at a memorial event in Israel, and he says he speaks of his determination to bring our hostages home, whether they're alive or not. We will not give up any single one of them, he says. But we've seen, have we not, over the last few months, that we have not seen a concerted effort by the Israelis to be held to account for a ceasefire, so that those hostages can go home. And the Palestinian hostages that held unfairly, unduly, and against the law can be released from Israeli prisons as well. And the Palestinians have their human right, which is to determine their own future and have their own stake in their own future, if I may say. And it is time for the international community to respond to that. And we've seen lots of plaudits only last week at the United Nations General Assembly, world leaders making speeches. But that's what they are, they're just speeches. There's no action. And we mourn the death and the killings that we've seen on an industrial scale. And inshallah today my very special guest, Dr Hamid Almashriqi, the broadcaster and commentator, will be joining us, where we'll spend the whole program reflecting on events in the Middle East and also reflecting on the turmoil that we see, not just in the international community, but also now see and have seen for a number of years in Pakistan. We see the violence on the streets this weekend, where the police and authorities refuse PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the party of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, permission to protest. They tried to storm Islamabad to go to D Chowk, which is the most important part of Pakistan's security and stability. It is a place where the Supreme Court is, the National Assembly is. So it's the heart of the civic institutions of the state of Pakistan. And we have heard from a number of people in the last few days that the democratic right, the human right of protesters to be able to protest freely has been denied to PTI. The government of Shehbaz Sharif argues that PTI have become terrorists and enemies of the state, and therefore they should not be afforded the rights of every other citizen. And this goes back to that general election which we saw earlier this year, in which we all anticipated that PTI would not get a sizable majority, but the reality was somewhat different. As you remember, here on British Muslim TV, we had an election program where we saw a huge turnout for PTI and Imran Khan, and then we saw those seats stolen from them, those court cases still going on. And then we have the Supreme Court of Pakistan. So the government of Pakistan wants to pass some constitutional amendments to its constitution. One of them is to establish a constitutional court which will take away political decisions away from the Supreme Court. There are others in terms of there's a maximum age of 65 for a Chief Justice. They want to rise, they want to be able to raise that to 67 or 68. So we'll be talking about that very, very shortly. We will hopefully, inshallah, take your calls as well. So if you want to get in touch with us, 01924 231 083 is our number. You can get in touch with us on social media. We're broadcasting around the world on our social media platforms, but also on satellite around the world. And as I said, we'll be going to Manchester very, very shortly, inshallah. Inshallah, very, very shortly. So let me just tell you what has been happening in Pakistan today. There has been a multi-party conference. All the political parties, bar PTI, came together saying that Pakistan supports Gaza, demanding an immediate ceasefire, not just in Gaza, but the West Bank and in Lebanon. And Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was there, along with Pakistan People's Party Chairman, the former Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, Jamaat Islami Amir Hafiz Naeemullah Rahman was there, and also the Jamiat Ulama Islam Fazl Group, Maulana Fazl Rahman Saab was also there. PTI leaders decided to boycott that meeting. I often think about this, and I've been thinking about this throughout the day, that we've seen in Pakistan people who try to raise the flag of Palestine be arrested. Protests have been curtailed. And you ask the question, if there is support for the cause of Palestine, then what should we be doing? But first of all, we want to talk about that. But also, there was a resolution with all the major parties and support. And I hope that that materializes in allowing the public in Pakistan to express their support and solidarity with the people of Palestine and now Lebanon as well. And the Pakistan government says that they condemn the ongoing Israeli aggression in Palestine in the strongest term. Right, let's go to Manchester. Let's go to the broadcaster and commentator. Dr Hamid Almashriqi is joining us. Dr Saab, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam. Thank you, Mushfiq. Always a pleasure to join in your program.
It's good to have you, because I know it's been a while since we've been back on it. We've only just recently come back on air, so really honoured that you've joined us. First of all, let's just talk about that 1 year today since the October the 7th attacks on Israel by Palestinian Hamas and other Palestinian resistant groups. We've seen 1,200 Israelis being killed, but since then we've seen 41,000 Palestinians being killed. On this year, 1 year anniversary, what's your reflections about where Israel and Palestine are at?
To be honest, it's very sad year, not only for Palestinians, it is sad year for the entire Ummah, who could not do anything to stop Israel's genocide, which is going on in Gaza. And they have killed more than 42,000 Palestinians, including 12,000 children, 9,000 women, 7,000 over 60 of old age people. On top of it, they have destroyed the entire Gaza. Over 80% of Gaza is all converted into rubble, and over 500,000 people are facing starvation, and over 2 million people are displaced. On top of it, very sadly, United Nations have not done anything, which was, to be honest, I'm not surprised. And then United States and UK and Europe have sadly backed up Israel, what they were doing during all that genocide. And due to all that, I would say that now the situation is so sad that Israel is openly attacking 4 different Muslim countries in sovereign countries: Yemen, Syria, Iran, and Palestine itself.
Just on that, we've got about 30 seconds, but Israel will say 1,200 of their citizens were killed on October the 7th. Rocket fire from Hezbollah in Lebanon.
I always condemn the killing of
Iraq as well.
Yeah. I always condemn killing of innocent, whether they are Jewish, whether they are Muslim. Any innocent killing is condemnable, whether it is done by Hamas or anyone.
Dr. Hamid, stay there. We just have to take a very quick break. We'll continue this very important conversation with the international broadcaster and commentator, Dr. Hamid Almashriqi. He's going to be with me for the full program. We'll continue to reflect on October the 7th, 1 year on, and the impact on Palestinian Lebanese community. Join us on the other side of this.
Sainsbury's? Oh, he made her money.
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
Well, the same effort we put into our baking
goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Our generation's risk of illnesses, like measles and whooping cough, is rising. If we're not vaccinated, we're not protected. And could get seriously ill. Risking lifelong disabilities. Are your child's vaccines up to date?
I'm in. Now, you ready for a good day?
He was a scientific hypothesis. She was a clinical study. And the future breakthrough that could cure her is closer than ever. With our research, we can keep saving lives like hers. Donate now to turn science fiction into reality.
Sainsbury's? Oh, he made her money.
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
well. The same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Questions with me, your host Mohammed Shafiq, exclusively here on British Muslim TV. We're joined by the international broadcaster and commentator Dr. Hamid Almashriqi, reflecting on October the 7th, 1 year on. Just before the break, the Israeli defense is this, and let me put it to you and then see what your response is. 1,200 of their citizens got killed on October the 7th. Since then, there's been thousands of rockets launched by Hezbollah into northern Israel. Yemeni Houthi groups have attacked Israel, and also have Iraqi resistant groups as well attacked Israel. Israel would argue that they are defending themselves. What would you say?
And the problem is that Israel has failed to understand that the problem of Palestine and Israel is not started from 7th of October 2023. It is a long-going, planned genocide and demographic change efforts done by initiating the settlements of Jewish settlement, colonies in across, the land of Palestine. And that is the reason where Israel have killed thousands and hundreds of thousands of Palestinians over the last 7 decades. So it is not that, we have seen Intifada, we have seen Second Intifada, we have seen all that what Israel have been doing it for the last 70 years. Yes, what Hamas did on the 7th of October by killing innocent people, by killing innocent women, it was condemnable. I strongly condemn that. Even in Islam, there is no question, there is no margin for killing any innocent civilian whatsoever. So if Hamas wants to be a resistance force, they have to do the resistance with their proper liberation way, not by targeting innocent women, innocent kids, or innocent men or women, or anyone. So there is no, I think there is no doubt about the clarity of that it was a sad incident. But the reaction from the Israel is very sad. I was in the United Nations General Assembly. I was there at the time of the speech by Netanyahu. I was very closely watching him. I was closely watching his body language. I was closely watching people sitting here there. Sadly, they are not understanding that Israel's narrative is not acceptable after the killing of 42,000 people. It's like killing 50 people, 50 lives against 1 life of yours. There is no justification. Israel have broken all the international laws. They have, I would say that ICJ decision is in front of us. United Nations Secretary General's screaming is in front of us. So many different countries are talking about the genocides going on in Israel. So the reaction from the Israel is not justifiable. And yes, at the same time, there is no doubt that, we should condemn Hamas actions. But I'll tell you one thing. Somebody asked me earlier on another channel that if this carries on, we will talking about after 1 year, if there is no ceasefire, what will happen after 1 year on 7th of October 2025? Would it be like Ukraine-Russia war? And I have clearly said, Shafiq, it would not be like Ukraine-Russia war. If this carries on for another year, then I have no doubts in my calculations that this war would escalate. It would become a multilateral war. Iran is already dragged into this war. Lebanon is already dragged into this war. And if Iran and Israel come to a proper war, then there are a very high fear of multilateral war in terms of, in America's been involved, in terms of Russia and China could have been involved. So it is very, very scary picture if Israel and the rest of the world would understand that.
A really powerful indication there from you about the role of war and the rules of war in Islam, which has been very clear. Thank you for that, and I hope people watching this will, take strength from what you've just said there. But isn't the reality that Palestinian lives are cheap, don't have the same value as other lives around the world? And, the world has just shrugged its shoulders and seems to be impetus in the face of such brutality and violence and killing we've seen of Palestinians, and now the Lebanese in Lebanon.
Again, that's exactly the thing. Sadly, that is what I'm saying. That if there is a bomb attack on Ukraine and Kyiv hospital, Europe and NATO and Western world immediately imposed sanctions on Russia and all their financial institutions, and they put the sanctions on Putin. But while on the other hand, what is happening in Palestine, Gaza? They are destroying hospitals, they are destroying schools, they are destroying medical facilities, they are destroying media houses, they are killing volunteer workers, they are killing UNO workers, they are killing journalists, they are killing old age people. So it is a clear hypocrisy and dual standards from Americans, from NATO, from Europe, from including UK. That is a very sad thing. Now they have no justification. While we talk about, wrongdoings in Ukraine by Russia, while we have seen a much more worse war crimes going on by Israel, that is the very sad part of it. And I believe that human life is equally precious. I mean, the skin color, the white skin or blue eyes do not have more rights as compared to an Arab skin or a brown eyes, or as compared to a Muslim life or a non-Muslim life. This is the entire hypocrisy which has been exposed badly in this crisis. And United Nations have failed to play their role. Now, United Nations have become nothing but a toothless body who has no authority and who has no power to implement anything whatsoever against these genocides going on. So I believe that it is very sad situation.
Yeah, and you've seen that in action at the United Nations this past couple of weeks at the General Assembly. Lots of good speeches, lots of powerful speeches, but not followed up with action. I just wanted to ask you, what's your reaction to the Iranian missiles attack on Israel last week and the inevitability of a Israeli response to those attacks in the days and weeks to come?
To be honest, retaliation from Iran was very much expected. I still say that Iran kept their reaction within a limit, and they did not cross those limits, which could have given an opportunity to Israel to respond or retaliate immediately.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said it will not go unanswered. Iran will face a befitting response.
I know. I mean, obviously, Netanyahu would not stop to answer or retaliate, but as a matter of fact, it is. I have a full justification what Iran did after the killing of their, Ismail Haniya was killed in the Irani soil by Israelis. Then they killed, so many things. I mean, Israel have violated so many international laws. And Israel have dragged Iran into this war. Although I believe that now the world powers, especially America, must intervene to stop Israel, not to give any reaction. Because if there will be a reaction, then there will be again a reaction of the reaction.
So there's going to be a reaction to, obviously you set out what the allegations towards the Israelis are, that they killed Ismail Haniya in Tehran, they killed Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut, they killed a number of Hezbollah and Iranian military officials across Syria and in Lebanon. And there's going to be an Israeli reaction. Then we're going to see a potential a counter reaction from the Iranians. Where does this end?
To be honest, some sense must prevail to end this. But at the moment, I'm sorry to say, but looking at the madness or warmongerism of Netanyahu, it is very sad. I cannot predict, but someone must act immediately, wisely to stop this aggression from Israel, this killings going on from Israel. Somebody has to, and it has to be America, to be honest, because we know that if America and USA would like to stop it and put some effort and force on Israeli administration and government, they are the capable to stop an immediate ceasefire, because immediate ceasefire is imminent. Then we have to work out rehabilitation of those 2.3 million displaced Gaza people. We have to work out to restoration of their normal life, which is almost impossible for next 4 or 5 decades. We have to work out the reconstruction, rebuild of that rumble, which has been 80%, which we can see in 80% of the Gaza Strip. We have to work rebuild of the entire infrastructure, including educational, medical, communication, food. All that is deprived at the moment. There is, as I said, 500,000 people are at the verge of death due to starvation. Who will be responsible for it? It is a grave crisis who's knocking on the door. That is the time when I believe that now it has to be a ceasefire before it is too late. That is the question. And UK has to play its role. I mean, Sir Keir Starmer has to play his role. I remember when I was interviewing Keir Starmer about 1.5 years ago, and I openly asked him about, discrimination and hate crime and Islamophobia. And he showed his commitment to resolving those issues. It is a time for Sir Keir Starmer as being Prime Minister to fulfill those promises, which he even did it with my one-to-one interview.
I just want to ask you one final question because we're close to a break as well, and then we're going to move on and talk about Pakistan, which obviously it's something which you and I are both interested in. Do you think we'll be here in a year and there will be more death and destruction in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, or do you think this coming year we'll see a ceasefire? And will the citizens, will the hostages that have been held by Hamas and other Palestinian groups be released? Will there be real action to get them released in the coming year?
I believe that the American elections are very vital. They are very important in November 5th. And I believe that whosoever would be selected, Kamala Harris or Trump, they have to take an immediate action, because I can't see any ceasefire prior to American elections. But because at the moment they both are selling Gaza blood for their election campaigns, they both are trying to get maximum votes at the cost of innocent Palestinians' blood. But I believe that if there would not be ceasefire immediately in next 2 months within this year, then this war would escalate, because it cannot have a status quo like that Israel will keep bombarding, Israel will keep killing, Israel will keep attacking on Houthis, on Syria, on Lebanon, on Beirut, and then on Iran. This thing cannot sustain for long. I mean, you understand strategy. I understand strategy. There is a limit from rest of the world to take this under the pressure. So if this is not stopped, it would escalate.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to stay with me because the next the next 30 minutes of the program, we're going to concentrate on Pakistan and the turmoil that we are seeing in Pakistan. There is turmoil in Pakistan. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister, is still in prison, and protesters have been participating or been subjected to violence. We'll talk about that, and the Supreme Court as well.
Sainsbury's. Oh, he made her money.
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
Well, the same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Our generation's risk of illnesses, like measles and whooping cough, is rising.
If we're not vaccinated,
We're not protected.
and could get seriously ill, risking lifelong disabilities. Are your child's vaccines up to date?
I'm in. Now, you ready for a good day?
He was a scientific hypothesis. She was a clinical study. And the future breakthrough that could cure her is closer than ever. With our research, we can keep saving lives like hers. Donate now to turn science fiction into reality.
Sainsbury's. Oh, he made her money.
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
well. The same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq, exclusively on British Muslim TV. Earlier this year, Pakistan general election, we anticipated that Imran Khan's party, the PTI, was going to be decimated. He had lots of resignations, lots of disappearances, and he was put in prison alongside his deputy leader, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, the former foreign secretary. So what we've seen in the last 48 hours, we've seen violence on the streets of Islamabad. We've seen the protesters trying to get to the D Chowk, which is where the government buildings have been focused. There's been gas, shelling, there's been live ammunition, there's been lots of arrests, and these protesters have been targeted. And there's a big debate around the constitutional amendments that are also being proposed. Dr Hamid Almashriqi, the broadcaster and commentator, is with us. Dr Hamid Almashriqi, just tell us, just set out where we are. So this weekend we saw the protesters going to D Chowk. Ali Amin Gandapur, who is the chief minister of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, he disappeared for a number of hours, and there's lots of commentary on Pakistan media. Did he run away? Did he get kidnapped? Did he get arrested? Or did he have a polite meeting with the men from GHQ in Rawalpindi?
Thank you. Shafiq, there are two things. One, I must appreciate you and your channel for talking about this topic. Because sadly, on Pakistani national media, no one is talking about how bad was the situation in last 48 hours or 72 hours in Islamabad. Nobody is talking about how many people had been able to reach to D Chowk in the capital city. How many people have been arrested? What state power have been used there? And the state has used their power at maximum level, including tear gas, including arresting, including abductions, and including going into people's houses, and all that thing has been happening. But sadly, the Pakistan national media could not cover it. And I believe that it is due to their restrictions at the moment.
Is that we have Ofcom here, they have Prima there. Is it because of some sort of instructions and guidance?
No. I don't. No. It is not because of PEMRA. It is because of the self-imposed restrictions not to make anybody unhappy in certain, administrations or certain.
I think because
I have to go Pakistan as well.
Because you've been to New York, I think you've grabbed some diplomatic skills. And it's rubbing off on you.
Yeah, I will keep them with me forever.
Yeah. So just tell me, so and then we had the protesters, and the Islamabad High Court, I think today, said to the government, just give them a location in Islamabad where they can protest freely. That's their democratic
to be
rights.
honest,
why do they have to go to D Chowk? It's a bit like, why do protesters have to go outside Downing Street or the House of Commons or the White House? Is that the reason why they want to go to D Chowk?
But have we not seen millions of protesters going outside the 10 Downing Street? Yeah. Have we not seen protesters going outside Washington, D.C.? Have we not seen protesters going out of the Paris, in the parliament? It is part of the democracy, and the right of protest is there. Yes, they have to be peaceful. They are not allowed to carry any weapons. The protesters has to make their point and come back. There are some limitations and the rules being a protester in the political system. But as far as the right of protest is concerned, I don't think so that High Court should intervene and decide the place, and deciding the place in such a way where it is unacceptable for the other party to take the people.
What the Chief Justice of the Islamabad High Court said, because I read it this afternoon, he's saying, he was criticising the government for putting these restrictions, and he's saying, okay, if you said they can't protest at D Chowk in the red zone, where the governments are all based, why don't you give them a location where they can peacefully protest? I think that's what you were saying.
I know, but the problem is that the place
protesting against government, you want to be able to stand outside the government buildings. While it said that
no, I agree.
Assembly.
The problem is if they protest, they believe it's not going to be effective, and they're going to have somewhere in the remote areas of Islamabad, it will become not a protest, it will become just a gathering or a party. It is our political culture, as you are aware. It has to be effective and it has to be very well noticed within the government areas. That is sad, but this is how the Pakistani politics working. On the other hand, as far as we are talking about the ending of this protest, it was very dramatic. The way Ali Amin Gandapur disappeared for 24 hours and then appeared in the KPK assembly all of a sudden, it has raised many doubts and many questions among the PTI workers, leadership, and among the supporters, because there is a very strong narrative or allegations that Ali Amin Gandapur, being the CM of KPK, maybe playing the both sides of the wicket, or maybe he have some kind of soft corner, or maybe he want to save his chief ministership, or maybe he cannot do very effective public gathering, and that's why he escaped. So there are many reasons and allegations which we need to understand. But I believe that one thing is for sure, and that the Islamabad is a very sensitive area. Pakistan is hosting SCO Shanghai Cooperation Organization's conference in next few days. Pakistan is hosting Malaysian Prime Minister from this week. Pakistan is hosting Indian Foreign Minister first time after 11 years in Islamabad. So I don't want that Pakistan have any bad name or notorious feedback from the media, international media. But this is the government's job to think about it. And the whole bone of contention is that amendment which government is trying to impose immediately, that will give a chance for another extension, unprecedented extension to the current Chief Justice Qazi Faiz Issa to remain as Chief Justice for next 3 years. Because the Chief Justice in waiting seem to be, or he's been allegedly supporting Imran Khan's narrative. So that is very sad when we made our judiciary controversial. That is not a very good thing that we made a judiciary controversial. Judiciary of Pakistan sadly is being controversial, and I would not blame anyone else but judiciary itself. On the other hand, if government is trying to introduce these laws and saying that this will help the Pakistan's budget or economy or the system, they can wait for 3-4 weeks and let the new Chief Justice come in, and then they can implement those changes. Then putting a separate court, they are calling them a constitutional court, and again that will be an extra burden on Pakistan's treasury. That will be extra confusion in the courts. There will be extra confusion between the I would say the legislative assembly, the legislative house, and between the our courts. So there are a lot of things which needs to be discussed for some long time. The amendments cannot be made overnight the way the government is trying to do it. If government is sincere to avoid all those protests, there is a very simple way. But just postpone these amendments for 3-4 weeks. Let all these international delegations complete their visits peacefully. Let Pakistan have a great hospitality, which we always do, and let these things settle with harmony in future from the next month. There should not be the problem with the Pakistan government is they have made these amendments the matter of their survival and ego. They are clearly saying that it is a matter of their ego, but I believe it's not the matter of their ego. It is more than ego. It is their survival to keep the same Chief Justice for another 3 years.
And this is the Constitution Amendments. We're going to talk about that just after the break. And I just wanted to say, what impact do you think huge crowds in Islamabad for the protest? I think there's protests being called for Lahore as well. What do you think? Do you think, if you look at what happened in Bangladesh with the students, huge protest, Sheikh Hasina, who was a strong leader, who had lots of power, she was gone within hours. Do you think something similar might happen in Pakistan?
To be honest, I would say that nothing is impossible in Pakistan. Anything can happen in Pakistan. At the same time, I think there is a lot of time we have to see this kind of protest or reaction from the public in Pakistan because of many reasons, because of our economical reasons, because of engagement of the public, because of the public is fed up from the entire political system. That's why they do not engage most of the times in these such kind of public gatherings. Whether they have the sympathies with Imran Khan, still they don't come out of the streets. And I don't think so. It will be a good idea or good for Pakistan to have such kind of change in regime through the protest, whether it was in Bangladesh or whether it was in Sri Lanka, because Pakistan is a different country. Pakistan cannot afford, and I believe that the power corridors must understand that Pakistan cannot afford such kind of protest or regime change or any kind of violations or any kind of violence, because violence could lead into anything. Pakistan's strategical situation and position does not allow Pakistan to have any kind of violence, because the enemies of Pakistan would love to take advantage of the situation. And there will be a lot of interference from the Western and from the exterior countries or exterior world to have raised many questions about Pakistan's stability, which Pakistan cannot afford at the moment. Nobody can jeopardize Pakistan's stability and peace. That is the question which I believe that establishment, the power corridors has to understand.
One more question, and then I think we're going to go ahead towards our break, our final break of the program. This party, PTI, have been subjected to, over the last 2 years, a huge level of violence, a huge level of arrest, a huge level of human rights abuses. People have been kidnapped, people have been disappeared, there's people in prison, there's lots of violence and allegations of torture. What's your message to the PTI party now?
I think they have gone through a lot of, I would say, aggression, a lot of atrocities which they were not expecting. But it has benefited PTI as a political power. The PTI have become more a political party than it was considered 4 years before or 3 years before. People were used to call them like they are very soft people, they are burger families, they cannot handle any kind of heat, or they cannot, survive into hot waters. But they have PTI leadership, supporters, and workers have proven themselves that they can go through very tough time as well. I think it is, for the party it is good, for the country it is not.
Yeah, just pause there. We're going to talk about the constitutional amendments to the Supreme Court as well, but we're going to take a very quick break, our final break of the program, and then we'll decide, inshallah, what we're going to talk about. Well, actually, we've already decided. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court and Qazi Faiz Issa.
Sainsbury's. Oh, he made her money.
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
Well, the same effort we put into our baking
goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Our generation's risk of illnesses, like measles and whooping cough, is rising.
If we're not vaccinated,
We're not protected.
and could get seriously ill.
Risking lifelong disabilities. Are your child's vaccines up to date?
I'm in. Now, you ready for a good day?
He was a scientific hypothesis. She was a clinical study. And the future breakthrough that could cure her is closer than ever. With our research, we can keep saving lives like hers. Donate now to turn science fiction into reality.
Sainsbury's. Oh, he made her money.
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
well. The same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Questions with me, your host Mohammed Shafiq, live on British Muslim TV. We are joined by Dr Hamid Almashriqi, and we've been reflecting on obviously the war in Israel and Palestine and in Lebanon and the wider Middle East. But also we were talking about Pakistan. Dr Hamid Almashriqi, we were talking earlier on about the constitutional amendments. They tried to table these a few weeks ago, but they don't have the votes. We've had since then a Supreme Court judgment. So just for our viewers' sake, for example, here in the UK, if you were to vote against your party, the budget, the prime ministership, or any vote of confidence, you'd be kicked out of the party, but you would still remain an MP. Yet in Pakistan, if you were to vote against the government on a budget or a constitutional amendment, you'd be kicked out, not just of the party, but stripped of being an MNA, member of the parliament. That has now been reversed. So anybody can vote against their party and they won't be kicked out of parliament. And now we've got this constitutional amendment, which according to Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, it has to be done by the 25th. What's happening on the 25th? I know it's the day I come back from Pakistan. That's my flight. And it must be very important for Bilawal Saab to want to get this amendment done before I leave Pakistan. But how do you see this? Why is the 25th so important?
As I said, that it is all very sadly that the whole amendment is based on one thing, and that is to give the extension to the current Chief Justice for another 3 years, because his retirement date is 25th of October. So this amendment has to be constitutionalized before the 25th of October. Now, on the other hand, which
you're talking about Qazi Faiz Isa, who's the current Chief Justice,
exactly.
who retires at the age of 65, and that's his first time. Now, he's personally been asked, would he accept an extension? He said no. The law minister, Azam Tarar, is it? I think, has said...
Azam Tarar, yeah.
He said, when this is not about one individual, it's about future appointments won't apply to the current Chief Justice. What do you say in response to that?
There are two things. One, there are very clear discrepancies. If they have made a law and then the Chief Justice Qazi Faiz Isa would have a clear excuse that it has become a law and I have to follow the law, whether I want to remain a Chief Justice or not, by the law I have to be a Chief Justice for another 3 years. So his no would be saying his no would be irrelevant. Secondly, because within these amendments, they are forming separate constitutional courts, and it will be headed by a Supreme Court judge. And they are thinking that instead of, having Qazi Faiz Isa to continue for another 3 years for Supreme Court Chief Justice, they will appoint Qazi Faiz Isa as the head of the Constitutional Court, because the government is more concerned about their own cases. Government is concerned to have a favorable judge in the Constitutional Court so that they can get the decisions in their favor. Sadly, I have to say that. On the other hand...
So the government doesn't have, it's a coalition government, but doesn't have the numbers. You need a 2/3 majority in both the Senate and the National Assembly. They're probably off around 8 or 9 votes.
They need 224 votes.
Okay.
Currently, they have 212 votes. Because of the speaker vote and another vote, if they add those 2 votes, they have 214 votes. They are still 10 votes short. For these 10 votes, they are convincing Maulana Fazlur Rahman, who seems not to be convinced, because he has clearly said that this is a heavy stack of documents of the amendments, and it needs some time to be discussed, and then I will be able to make my decision. On the other hand, as you have mentioned, the recent decision by the 5 panel judges, which has reversed the decision of the previous Supreme Court Chief Justice, who has put a kind of a condition on floor crossing, that the MNAs, Member of Parliament, cannot vote against the party policy in amendments and budget, so that if they will vote it, their vote will not be counted. That is the most important thing. Still, now they have reversed changed the decision that he will not be the part of the parliament, and he would be kicked out of the parliament. He would be, but his vote would be counted for that particular moment or the amendment.
So can we just get this clear? So their vote will stand. So if they voted in favour of this constitution amendment and they were a PTI supported member of the National Assembly, their vote would be counted, but they would still be kicked out of Parliament. Is that still the case?
Yes, he will be ousted after that.
After the vote.
So that is a so that is the, and it is a very strange thing that why would somebody vote for one amendment and sacrifice his own member of parliament seat in country like Pakistan? It is clearly a case of bribery. It is clearly they would have such a great temptations that they would be able to give away their membership of the parliament and just to vote for this amendment. That is very sad. And on the other...
Sorry, I'm just going to... Sorry, please go ahead.
On the other hand, it would open a floodgate of greatest corruption again, of buying and selling of members of parliament. I believe that whatever the government is doing at the moment, they will have to pay the price for it. And I am very sad from the Bilawal and PPP's response, because I always believe that the PPP, People's Party, is the one who always believe in constitution and democratic traditions, and they want to follow the democratic rules and the principles. But sadly, here Bilawal is the biggest advocate of these amendments, which he will pay the price later on. His father have paid the price. His mother died due to martyred because of this. All that I would say that all that game which was going on the name of democracy and dictatorship in Pakistan. So Bilawal, I was not expecting him to support this kind of amendment, which is specifically a personal benefiting amendment.
Okay, and then there's a sense that Mullah Fazl Rahman, I remember our many conversations over the last few years, you wouldn't begin to think that Mullah Fazl Rahman would be on the same side as PTI. He said adamantly he cannot support these amendments. Do you think he will change his tune at some point over the next couple of weeks, or do you think it's done?
Oh, to be honest, he has survived or maintained his stance for like last 6-8 weeks. I'm very surprised. I was not expecting from him to resist that much. But now next 3 weeks are very critical. I can't say anything. He may change, but if he change his stance, I think he would have a very big reaction from the public. But if he remain on his stance, he will have a very bright future in Punjab, in KPK and Balochistan politics. That is the main point. He has to decide he want to live for a day or he want to live with his legacy in future.
Okay, that's interesting. And that legacy is they've offered him all sorts. The governor of KPK, governor of Balochistan.
They offered him presidentialship in last PDM government, which they never fulfilled the promise. That is the biggest jolt. That is the biggest jolt for Maulana Fazlur Rahman, that he is not trusting anymore on the current setup and the government. He is saying, you promised the world with me that I will be the first, I'll be the president of Pakistan. And instead of him, they made Zardari Sahab president and others. So that is in this situation, whatever Maulana Sahab have done, to be honest, I'm very impressed from his stance, his statements. Let's see how long it lasts.
Imran Khan is still in prison. He's been cleared in a number of cases. There's still the gifts, the Toshakana case, this new one that has been materialized. What do you see happening to Imran Khan? Do you see him coming out? Do you see some sort of deal being done?
Shafiq, there is very clear history of Pakistan about leadership being imprisoned. It is not about the cases. It is not about getting them clear from the courts. It is about the willingness and the decisions of the certain establishment and the government when they want to release him. Because if they want to keep him in the prison, there are a lot of cases to put on him. They can carry on doing the cases, and the PTI advocates and lawyers will carry on getting his bails. This is all about the very sensitive time that when there will be so much mounted pressure on the government that they will have to release Imran Khan. And I believe that, again, American elections are going to be a big factor.
What about
This
the SCO summit, which is happening on the 14th, 15th, 16th of October in Islamabad? The Indian foreign minister has confirmed he's attending. Leaders from South Asia are going to be there. Huge, level of world leaders coming to Islamabad. And do you think PTI will try to jeopardize Pakistan's standing on the international stage by staging protests?
I think PTI should be very careful. They should not jeopardize Pakistan's international stature. They should not jeopardize such occasions, because it is all about the national interest. It is all about our Pakistan's sovereignty.
Is the government doing that by banning protests, by arresting people, torturing,
I know that.
violence,
I know that.
so
it has to be.
It's on the government, not on PTI.
No. The responsibility more lies on the government, but at the same time, it does lie on PTI as well, a little bit.
It's a good
So
point.
both,
Sorry, and they've also they've also didn't participate in the multi-party talks conference on Palestine in Islamabad today, and there's reasons for that. I mean, there's accusations that have been thrown.
I think it was a wrong decision by the PTI leadership. I think they should have sent somebody from a lower tier 2, tier 3 leadership, even non-member of parliament, just to represent, just to put their case that on the other hand, government have almost banned all kind of protests in favor of.
And I was saying at the top of the program that they ban protest. If you put a flag of Palestine, they seem to arrest you, which is a total contradiction.
So these were the points which,
Hazrat, I'm sorry, I've run out of time. I could listen to you all night. But my editor and my producer will want to go home at some point tonight. Thank you so much, as always. Great to see you. Dr. Hamid Almashriqi, the international broadcaster and commentator, joining us live there in Manchester, reflecting on the events in the Middle East, particularly the 1-year anniversary of the October the 7th attacks and the current war, killing and destruction that we've seen in Gaza, in the West Bank, and now we've seen in Lebanon. I'm going to take a break for a couple of weeks as I head to Pakistan tomorrow. I'll be back soon, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. To you at home, wherever you are around the world, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a good week this week. And I'll see you very, very soon. Allah bless you, bless your families. From me, Mohammed Shafiq, and the whole team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sainsbury's. Oh, we made our money.
Hey Sainsbury's, explain it, will you?
Well, the same effort we put into our baking
Goes into matching prices.
Remarkable. We've actually come in under budget.
Get it now?
Already got it.
Sainsbury's. Good food for all of us.
Our generation's risk of illnesses, like measles and whooping cough, is rising.
If we're not vaccinated,
We're not protected.
and could get seriously ill.
Risking lifelong disabilities. Are your child's vaccines up to date?